Denise Neese. Denise and I were very close. Denise invited me to go up to their cabin in northern Michigan with her and Dale. And she prefaced it by saying that we would drive 8 hours, we would lose cell phone coverage, and then we would drive 3 more hours. And that kind of scared me. But she said, I guarantee you will be relaxed. And unfortunately, I didn't do it. So anyway, Denise, just a great facility, and so I'm proud to be here. So I am Eric Wellman. I have lots of things after my name that I'm going to give you a picture tour on PowerPoint. This will not be death by PowerPoint, and I hate people that read PowerPoint, but almost all of my PowerPoint slides have no text on them. They're just pictures. So you can see a little bit. I'm going to give you a tour. They asked me to talk a little bit about my role at the sheriff's office with the radio infrastructure. And so I've got some pictures to show you of some of the cool places that I get to go. And then I have a couple of live demonstrations. This will not be technical at all, but it's just going to hopefully be some things that you can learn a little bit about your local things. So where we're going to go, I'm going to take you on like 3 or 4 pictures of the Ohio Emergency Management Association to their Emergency Operations Center in Columbus. So you can see a little bit on the state level. We'll look at the Wood County Emergency Operations Center. I don't have any pictures inside the dispatch center, but only in my techie room in the back, and that's what I'm most proud of. And then I've got some radio tower stuff. We'll talk a little bit about amateur radio, and then I have a couple of live demonstrations that I can do for you. If you hear any talking in the background, it's probably my computer, because my computer's connected live to the county communication system. I think I've got it turned down, but if you hear something, it's not the voices in your head. Well, it might be the voices in your. It probably won't be. So one of the things about me that you'll probably pick up pretty fast is that I wear multiple hats. I have been doing my own gig, self-employed, for 32 years at Wellman Technologies. I'm the chief cook and bottle washer there. I also am a member of Kiwanis. You can also see me out driving buses. I've been a part-time school bus driver for 32 years. Somebody else knows about that. And for the last 10 years, I've started driving motor coach also. The interesting thing that caught me by surprise, I like school busing better than I like motor coaching. Because the motor coach, I'm just a thug that steers the bus. On the school bus, it's my ship. And I get to, and it's my ship on the motor coach. But the thing is, I like working with the kids. I like working with the students, and I like having, sometimes we have teachable moments. As a substitute bus driver, I tell parents, if I know your kid's name, he's either an angel or he's not. And that's how I learned their name. But we've had many teachable moments on the school bus, and I love it. It was rewarding, was it not, Sharon? You come away with lots of stories and all of that. I also am the county emergency coordinator under Wood County Amateur Radio Emergency Services, and I'm also an assistant district emergency coordinator, which means that if we had any kind of a disaster that would happen in the county, I would get called in to assist the county public partners to be able to keep their communications going, as well as my professional role of being the communications infrastructure technician for the sheriff's office. So I keep all of this stuff integrated together. One of the things about ham radio is that we can be more agile than public safety. Public safety just picks up the radio and pushes the button. That's all they know how to do. Ham radio people can go out and find a different channel, find a different band, find a different something to make it work. So this is my local radio. This is my radio that'll go statewide if I need to. I could dial it onto a channel. I could talk to the state fire marshal's office in Columbus. I could talk to people all over the state of Ohio on that. Different applications, different uses, and things like that. So you'll see that I do different things. I tell my friends, the good news is I don't do the same thing 2 days in a row. The bad news is I don't do the same thing 2 days in a row. But I like the variety. Nothing against, I just don't see myself sitting in a cube and pushing buttons in a cube. So I like what I do. I like to solve problems. I'm a troubleshooter. I'm a technician. Give me something, I may not know how that works, but I'll figure it out. I'll block diagram it and I'll know who to call. And in today's world, that's what we're missing so much with people. We don't know how to solve problems. I tell kids when I see them all the time, what's the one thing we hated the most in school? In math, we hated story problems. Everything in life is a story problem. So if any of you are teachers, you know exactly what I mean. You also might see me on stage as the master of ceremonies at the American Theater Organ Society. So I got pushed into service at that at our last event as well. So, you know, Lynn will understand, beware of the ham radio operator, because we put up all of these kinds of things, but we can communicate across the street, we can communicate across the world. And so all of that kind of thing. I also, at the fair this year, had the opportunity to sit down with Representative Gambari, and I'm actually demonstrating the same computer that you're going to see demonstrated today. Haraz sits on the steering committee, as they call it, for the Ohio statewide radio system. So Haraz is very passionate about communications and the state radio system and things like that. So I said I'd mentioned I have just a couple pictures from the Ohio EMA. This is down in Columbus. It's not Surface Road, but it's kind of out in the middle of everything. And it is a joint facility. They have some beautiful conference rooms. I go down there every quarter for statewide meetings where we talk about communications, and we go over all the changes, what's happening in the state. Each district and area reports in. It's normally about a 2-hour meeting. It's an earth-sheltered building, and the good stuff is down below underneath. And then there's another level that's even further below that. So there's a lot of antennas there. Which makes an antenna geeky guy very happy. This is a cellular cell site and ham radio antennas, public safety antennas, all kinds of things going on. This is a view inside the State Emergency Operations Center. Under the federal government, whenever there's an emergency, every discipline comes to the table and takes care of their area. So public safety comes in. Roads and bridges come in, public health comes in, all of the hospitals come in, all of these, and everybody has a seat at the table. So, and every place is labeled out. So you see the numbers and the things, those pertain to the federal government sections that they belong to. So one of the sections is public health. One of the sections is communications. I think ESF2 is communications. And so all the communications people would come to the table and sit together in a group. And then there's this whole federal government process that you go through to pass messages and information between people. And it all gets logged into a computer and it all is available. It's a big deal. We practice this all the time. And then they can put all kinds of stuff up on the screen. Underneath this is the governor's command center. So the governor is one more level underground than what this one is. And then one of the rooms that's off out those doors, the feds have an EMP room that they can go in, probably get 8 people in there, but the feds will be okay. The rest of the people, good luck. If you've ever wondered how big those speakers are that run the outdoor early warning sirens, that's how big they are. So I just threw that in for fun because I could. So every county is required to have an emergency operations center. And this is our Wood County Operations Center. We've got TVs all around. We can put different broadcast TV stuff up there. We can see what CNN is saying. We can see what Channel 11 is saying. We've got all of our reporting software and everything up there. Because I wear a hat with the Amateur Radio Emergency Services, Jeff Klein and I, the EMA director, work very closely together to be able to have all of this ready. The county has a cache of radios on different frequencies, different bands. They sit in chargers all the time. We go through and cycle them, make sure that they're ready, and they're used at special events as we need to do. This, it looks bad, but it's actually just in storage mode right now. This would be the public safety communication side. This would be the ham radio communication side. We have all of our federal documents and all of our emergency plans available in the book. We'd pull out a book, we'd go to whatever the situation is, look up procedures that have all been tried, tested, planned, whatever, drilled, and that's where we go from there. So I'm also, under the law, an Ohio special deputy. I am not, Ohio has two classifications of deputies. We have a special deputy who has all powers up to arresting powers. And then there's also an Ohio peace officer, which is a full-fledged police officer who can arrest you. So I can legally detain you until a nice police officer comes and arrests you, but I cannot carry a sidearm. I can carry everything up to deadly force, but I can't carry a sidearm, and I cannot arrest you. So when you see deputies out at the fair, they may be auxiliary, they may be certified. Yesterday, as a matter of fact, I had the opportunity to work the security motorcade detail for the vice president when he came to Toledo. I have worked presidential details when I wore my EMT hat, when Reagan came to the courthouse, when Bill Clinton came to, they're absolutely amazing. This is the document from the State Highway Patrol, and I brought it along just to kind of show you. This has the entire security plan in it. It says where Safe House 1 is, where Safe House Transition, Safe House 2, Safe House 2 Contingency, Primary Hospital, Relocation, Command Post, and it has the name of every person who's in charge of every little detail along the way. This is every intersection that required manpower in order to close the highway in order to bring this through. And somebody, one of our people even said, wow, look at all the resources. They do this for every visit, every place. It absolutely is amazing, but there were no incidents, and it absolutely worked the way it was supposed to. So I thought this was really cool. And so I got to close 795 on the way up and on the way back. And people were very cooperative. I didn't have any issues with anyone, but just watching the motorcade go through, it's just really cool to see how that all works. The logistics that go into it is absolutely crazy. So that was the hat that I got to wear yesterday. And then after that, I went home and took a nap. And then I drove the big yellow limousine up to Toledo and took the hockey team up to a game in Toledo. So Wood County Sheriff's Office maintains his own radio system. That's a decision that he's made. He's not on the state system. There's 13 sheriffs in the state of Ohio that maintain their own radio system. It's always a personal decision. We don't judge either way unless you're in Columbus and you judge because you want them on the state system, but that's okay. This shows the location of every radio transmitter that I take care of in the radio system. So we have them scattered all around. Some of them are just receive sites, and some of them actually transmit, and they all transmit in what's called a simulcast. And this is what gives us really good coverage in Wood County. The sheriff's goal is to give his deputies the best radio system they can have. The state will tell you, you can call Columbus, they will tell you their radio system is built for statewide mobile coverage. You can drive a car anywhere in the state of Ohio, and your radio will work in your car. In Wood County, we have a countywide portable level coverage. I can take my portable and work anywhere. Won't work in every building, but it will. Your portable should work anywhere in the county. That's what is important to the sheriff. That's what he wants. That's why he has his own system. That's why we have so many sites. This is back in the communications room of the 911 center. This is just a sampling of some of the radios, and some of the radios are networked together in a fashion that they don't even go to an individual radio. They are digital data from the moment that it leaves the person's mouth until it comes to the person's ear. It's digital through the entire system, and it's all data. In this case, the dispatcher goes and actually is talking on in some cases, talking on an individual radio. So these are the 4 radios for the fire departments. These are police department radios. These are fire department radios. These are statewide radios. all the different things. So some of these are called control stations. They're just a radio that the dispatcher can get from one location, and they don't have to have all these radios sitting on their desk. So that's just one of those. That's a close-up of one of them. I have them color-coded, so these are law radios because they don't do blue. They only do green. But anyway, these are law radios. Those are fire radios, and they don't look good in red. And then up on the roof, these are all lightning protectors. And all those cables get to go up to the roof. And then on the roof, got all those antennas that we use for all of the radios that are in the communication center. This sled doesn't exist anymore, but they all come out of a trough, and they're all protected laying out on the roof and things like that. So maintenance built this whole big structure that's up there. I asked for something I could hang some antennas on. I got something I could have a dance party on, but good for them. They did a really cool job. This is a device that I'm really proud of. Doesn't mean much. It's not much to look at. One of the things I lose sleep about is that when someone calls 911, that's the worst day of their life. And when they have to page fire or EMS, I need fire and EMS to get there. So one of the things that always kept me awake at night is when the dispatcher pushes the button to page the fire department, he or she accepts in good faith that that page goes out over the air and that the fire department's notified. But what if that 1 in 100,000 didn't go through? There's protocols for that, but it adds time. So I built this device that when they push the button, there's a feedback that comes back to this device, and I wrote all the program to do this, that says, hey, the dispatcher pushed the button. This radio listens to make sure that something's going out over the air. And if it isn't going out over the air, this alarm relay trips a notification to the dispatcher within 1.2 seconds and says, hey, this isn't going out over the air. You need to try it again. So I built this system. We're the only ones that have anything like this. It's not commercially available, but it helps me sleep at night. That if I need an ambulance, it's going to go out over the air. Sorry, no, I don't, but I should. So when I was building this multi-site radio system, I set up a shop out at one of our towers, and this is me building all of the fuse compartments and the power supplies and getting all the radios ready. And I spent hours and hours and hours out at the tower building every site custom to the way it needed to be. And then this is our primary site. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 radios at this particular site that are all base stations, plus these control stations that are up there. And see, there's the lightning protection that goes out. This is the site across from the County Museum on County Home Road. So all of this was custom built with all the fuse holders. And these are the actual radios. They're a little 25-watt radio that run a Linux operating system. They're really cute. They're made by a company in Italy. I'm probably going to start politicking. I need to go to Italy to get properly trained on these. So been invited by the people in Italy. Hey, you want to come to Milan? We'll host you anytime. Rock and roll. So I'm going to try and get a trip to Italy planned at some point in time. And then that's a close-up of that. So this power supply has 3 20-amp modules in it. So it can do 60 amps. And if one of the modules fails, 40 amps will continue to run everything just fine. And so there's redundancies and safeties built into everything. So some of my remote radio sites that are out there, I put in a couple that I thought might be fun. And a few of you go, oh, really? That's what you have to do? Yeah. So this is over at BGSU, and the left rack is all Wood County, Bowling Green stuff, and the right rack actually belongs to Lucas County, but this is exactly the same technology that the state of Ohio uses. So the state of Ohio has these things all over the state. They have 379 or so towers. Some towers have 2, 3, 4, or even 5 of these racks in them. Each one of these racks from Motorola, about $300,000. The state has them everywhere. Lucas County has them everywhere up there. It's not. No. This stuff has probably been around for 20 years, but it's the latest and greatest stuff. It looks old, but it really isn't. It really isn't. These radios have been around for quite a while, but they're workhorses. They just rock and roll. That's a 100-watt base station right there. This radio here is only 5 years old. It's still under warranty. No, this one is right here. So, and then this is in its own room. It's in its own secured area. And then this little device up here is what sends the feedback back to that fire page thing that I showed you just a few minutes ago. And that each of those were custom built. So, just a little close up of that. This site's over at Wood County Hospital. So we have a cabinet over there that the hospital radios are co-located with some of the county radios. This is hospital, this is county, and that type of thing. One of the things that we do in Wood County is we partner with people all around. So the hospital is one of our partners where we put radios at their facility and we work together to share the common goals of communications in the county. We work very closely with Bowling Green Police Department. I have Bowling Green Police Department's channel on the statewide system networked into the county system so that our deputies can maintain situational awareness of everything that's going on in the county's largest city. And they can actually talk back and forth. And so everybody in this county, we have sometimes a very unique situation in Wood County where we get along really well in this county and we take it for granted. But there are counties over in the Cleveland area that their county commissioners don't even want to sit in the same room together. They hate each other. They won't work together. We do not have that problem in Wood County. And I'm very proud to be part of Wood County, that if we have a problem, we can call up a police chief somewhere and say, hey, how can we work together and get this done? Hey, you know what? I got a place you could put this temporarily or permanently or whatever. We work together to get things done. So we really should not ever take that for granted in Wood County, because not every county in Ohio are anywhere near like that. So this is one of the things. And then when we do the tractor pull, I actually bring temporary radios over here to work with the tractor pull, because I don't have the network out at the fairgrounds yet. I'm working on that. And then those are I just think it's cool. Big copper block with all the lightning protection. Yeah, that's all we need to do with that. So this is the North Baltimore site. The key here is that I don't have generator backup power. So I have over 8 hours of battery backup at this location. So if something happens at this location, this is one of the places that we could deploy a remote generator or something like that. But in the terms of need, this is a very minimal need because it's just one of the dots on the map. If this dot goes away, there's another dot 2 miles away. So that's one of the things that we've done, that we've built so much redundancy into the system that one dot can just go away and it'd be like, oh, didn't even notice. And that's the goal. Our schools have a little wall mounted cabinet. This one's over at Eastwood. It's actually been moved into a server room now, but the sheriff's office has 3 schools that we do their SRO, their school resource officer. Our deputies are their school resource officer. The sheriff says you can't be in the building without having good radio coverage. What if you need something? So we have a site out at each school that takes care of the school just for the SRO. One of the things at Elmwood, Elmwood put, excuse me, a coating on their glass. All of their windows and everything have a ballistic coating on it to slow down or thwart any firearms. Unfortunately, we have to worry about firearms in schools today, but that's where we are. It's horrible for radio coverage. Doesn't pass radio coverage. Doesn't pass bullets, doesn't pass radio. So this system actually is inside the building and the antennas are inside the building. because I can't put them on the outside of the building that the signal doesn't get in. So we had to be innovative and figure it out. So if you ever go to Elmwood and you see a little antenna sticking out of the roof or out of the ceiling tile in two places in the building, those are for the sheriff's office system, because what doesn't get in doesn't get out either. And we have one of those systems there just for that. That's the one over at Otsego. It's just a little radio, a power supply, a battery, the whole thing self-contained, and it connects up to the network and rock and rolls. One of the things we did at First Solar, the new Troy plant, was we put a box there, and I custom built all of that with the power supply, battery backup. Now this is generator backed up, so the only thing I need the battery for is to get me through the 12 seconds of a generator start. But this is at First Solar, and there's antennas that point to the inside of First Solar. That's a huge building. I can't believe I've driven in this building. I come in the door, I can get my truck up to 25 miles an hour driving down the lane until I get to the center core of the building. And it is a huge building. It's the old Peloton building that they abandoned, but it is gigantic. Literally, I don't want to walk it. I want to drive it, because you really, you just go and go and go. This is over in Grand Rapids. This is just a standard site. This has 3 radios in it, 1, 2, 3 amplifiers, and then it also has some ham radio resources. The sheriff's a ham radio operator. I asked him as the emergency coordinator, hey, can I put some ham radio backup equipment? He goes, is it going to cost me anything? And I said, nope, I'm going to do it all on my own. Rock and roll, have fun. There we go. Partnerships between public safety and ham radio to protect all of us if we need it. I also have equipment on the tallest building in downtown Toledo, 29 stories high. Beautiful view, beautiful view. So I threw that in just for fun, and I have 5 antennas on that building. The jail has a backup system up there. If they have to take an inmate to St. Vincent's, they can sit in the ER at St. Vincent's and talk to Master Control in Bowling Green. Part of the network. That's what he wanted to build. What's that? It used to be Fiberglass Tower. Now it's called the Tower on the Maumee. So he has apartments 14 through 28. Actually, this would be 31 stories at the roof level. There's only 29 stories of tenable space. But he has apartments on 14 through 28, and then he has Class A commercial down below that. And I think he's going to take a few more floors and convert them into residential. I went up the elevator one time with a resident physician from St. Vincent's. He walks from St. V's over to his apartment at the Tower on the Maumee, and that's where he lives while he's doing his residency at St. V's. So it's a great place. A little on the pricey side, but can't beat the view. So one of the things the sheriff did was he knows the owner of the building. He wanted something in downtown Toledo, partnerships. He said, hey, why don't you let me build my public safety system up in your penthouse? Now, what's really cool is when I used to be an engineering manager for the beeper company, remember when we had beepers back in the day? I had transmitters up in this building. So this was like really cool for me to go back to this building 30 years later and get to do work up in the penthouse. It's all been cleared out. It's all completely different. Sheriff said, hey, I want to put some stuff on your building. Building owner said, I charge $5,000 a month per radio. Whoa, no, now wait a minute. This is for public safety. He goes, you know, if you give it to me for public safety, you could write it off on your income taxes. Really? Called up his attorney. Well, let's call the accountant. Called up the accountant. As long as it's in writing, you can do it. So they put together a lease. Now, unfortunately, a lease is what? A legal document. So that meant his attorneys had to write the lease. Then it had to come to the county for the county prosecuting attorneys to look at it. Oh, no, we don't like this word. Can't have that word in there. And then it goes back to his attorneys. Well, if you took that word out, now we've got to take this word out. Took 6 months. We're getting $35,000 a month of rent for free as a tax write-off from the owner. Partnerships. Pretty cool. Custer, Legacy Grain elevators. I have a sealed cabinet up in the top, what they call the second floor, up there. Has anybody ever gone up in a grain elevator? Oh, you have? Did you walk the ladder or the man lift? Both. So you know all about what I call the telephone booth in the man lift. Remember the old days when you used to go into a telephone booth and you'd get in and you'd fold the door closed? Here's your trivia. You know why we don't have those anymore? Besides the fact we don't have payphones anymore. You know why those went away in the 1980s? Huh? Couldn't get out. Somebody went in there to make a phone call and a driver came on and hit the phone booth and they couldn't escape the phone booth. So they sued the phone company because the phone booth was unsafe. So the phone company took them all out, and the walk-in one, you know, with the 3 sides on it. That's why they took those out. But there's a man lift inside that literally is a phone booth. But it's not literally it's the size of a phone booth. It's probably smaller than a phone booth. And I've lost 30 pounds, but when I get in it, the door would scrape my belly as I close the door, and then you push the button, you go up. Moves at about 100 feet a minute. So you're in there for a good solid minute. It's a ride to behold, let me tell you. But anyway, I get up there and then I pull my rack out and work on my equipment. I even had to take a light because I couldn't see anything up there. And I work up there and do what I need to do, and then get in the man lift, go back down. So don't ever wear fresh clothes on that day because you're going to come out smelling like soybeans, looking like soybeans, and coated with dust. Huh? They actually have a hook out here on the side of the building, and they hoisted it up the exterior of the building to bring it up there. That's exactly what they did. And they do it all the time. Anytime they need a motor up there or something to run they do it all the time. They're like, yeah, we'll have it up there next week. No big deal. Not supposed to not rain on Tuesday. We'll take it up on Tuesday. Now, here's the fun one. This is an Amplex cabinet on the roof of the silo in Rising Sun. So you don't go up there when it's raining. Now, the man lift in Rising Sun is on the outside of the silo. And they tell me you don't want to go up there when it's windy. Because as you're riding up, there's this wire on the bottom of the elevator car that's called the traveling cable, and it travels with the car, and it's how all the buttons work. If it's windy, the traveling cable will start to swing, and if it starts to swing too much, it'll get caught in the elevator and tear it apart, break the electrical connection, and then you're stuck with nowhere to go. I'm very careful when I go up. But this one's kind of unique. Now, this cabinet is climate controlled. There's a heater and an air conditioner right here on the door that keep that cabinet at the proper temperature year round. And that's where Amplex has all of this is the Amplex data internet equipment, and then this is batteries, 48 volts worth of batteries. It's partnership with Amplex. They're like, sure, we got room in our rack. Come on, we'll work with you. The owner of Amplex has been amazing to work with. And then that's the inside. You can see their equipment. You can see the batteries and things like that. So getting to the end here real quick. A couple of pictures from the amateur radio emergency. There is a building out at County Home Road that used to be owned by the Border Patrol when the Border Patrol had a radio system that linked through Wood County. That building had been abandoned for over 10 years, and it belongs to the county at this point. And it hadn't been heated, it hadn't been maintained, it hadn't been taken care of, and the floor got moisture in it, and literally you could scoop the plywood off the floor with your hand. It was rotten. So I asked the sheriff permission. Hey, can we use that site? I don't care. Is it going to cost me anything? No, it's not going to cost you anything. So we went and completely, all the ham radio volunteers redid the floor, and you can see it's carpeted now. We redid the floor, and this is a digital repeater. This is a high frequency radio. This is a VHF radio. And then there's network equipment. This is a GPS clock synchronization system, all the networking and all the power supplies. This is just there for emergency communications on the ham radio side. So if we ever needed to augment something, this is part of the infrastructure that the ham radio community keeps online for data and different. With this, I have data that goes all over the county. So I could literally send a picture back to the EOC from Grand Rapids over this data network on the ham radio system. And that's just a close-up. I learned in corporate America that being indispensable sucks. Unfortunately, I'm a little indispensable right now because there's nobody that has the same passion for doing this kind of stuff that I want to do. So that's a challenge. It is a challenge. So just a close up of the equipment in there. So I appreciate your willingness to come here. I still have a couple more things to do, but I'll answer a question.
I want to build on the question was just asked. Obviously, this takes a lot of work to maintain all of this. Does Willman do that, number one? And number two, have you done anything with internships with the local technical schools, colleges to train people so they can manage this stuff in the future?
I have not, but there are other, I'm not, when it comes probably to the public safety side, I'm not as indispensable. There's nobody that knows it as well as I do, but we could call in a vendor and it's all commercially available equipment. The vendor could work with it. The sheriff chooses not to work with the vendors. I'm a vendor technically, but I just give him better service than the vendors who are here to pad their pocketbooks. You know,
You're more of a consultant.
I really am. And the thing that got me started 10 years ago was I started talking to the sheriff about the server room, and the server room needed to be cleaned up really bad because just nobody was maintaining it. And they had discontinued the use of the old 911 system, and they wanted to get it out of the server room, but they didn't know if any of the phone lines went through the old 911 cabinet. There were 300 pair that went into that cabinet. And I said, well, I'm a phone guy. I've been doing phones since I was, wee high. I can figure that out. And in 4 hours, I figured out that there were 2 phone lines in there that weren't being used. The rest of it was all obsolete. That cabinet was empty in 6 hours, figuring that all out. Then I went in, and one of the things I love to do is I love going in and doing cleanouts and cleanup work, where I'll go into a business or a commercial, anything, or a county or whatever, and I go in and I inventory every cable pair, and I find what's there that's not being used and take anything out that's been disconnected and not being used. So my next phase of the project was I went in and I cleaned up the entire server room. I took out the old county phone system that hadn't been used in 3 years, that was still plugged in and taking power off of the battery backup system. I took out all the old data equipment from Verizon or GTE that was for the old 911 system that was taking up room on the backboard. I have pictures of that there was no space left on the wall, and 90% of it was abandoned. And then I went through and I started auditing every circuit. Back in the old days, we used to have all the buildings in the county, all the public safety buildings connected with phone lines that, this line was for the paging channel, the fire channel, and this was for the law channel. Nobody had ever maintained that. When I got done over about a 3-month period, I found $32,000 a year in phone lines that hadn't been used in 6 or 7 or 8 years. And then I worked with the phone company to get them all canceled. And we made a big deal about it with the commissioners, and all of a sudden the county had $32,000 that was unbudgeted money that just became available. That was the money that the sheriff used to implement his online policies and procedures software that helps them maintain all of their legal requirements for policies and procedures. They couldn't afford it before. It was an unbudgeted thing that, you know, it was getting more and more important to have those kinds of things. And now every deputy has access to policies and procedures. And anytime something changes, they're notified. It's called Lexipol. And it's a company that does exactly that. They take care of policies and procedures. They keep you legal. They make sure that all of your policies are compliant with Ohio Revised Code. It was something he'd wanted for years, but just couldn't get it in the budget, couldn't afford it. $32,000. Guess what? How much Lexipol cost? $30,000. So there we go with that. So let's go ahead and I'm going to show you a couple of things. And this actually is the, this is live. The live system that goes directly to the county radio system. It's going to resize itself here as I make it full screen. This is my screen. This screen represents, every one of these represents one of those radios that you saw in the communication center. Now, these radios over here never go to a control station. They're digital from the voice to the other end. They're networked completely through. Some of these other ones, these all have individual radios that are up in the, unfortunately, our county is in a very unique, not good situation where we have two competing radio systems in our county. We have what we call the Lucas County system that all of the northern agencies are on, the Perrysburg Townships, Rossford, Walbridge, Lake, all of them are on that system. It's the same technology as the state system, but it's a different system. Unfortunately, the state of Ohio doesn't play as well in the sandbox as what Lucas County. Lucas County totally understands what the federal government calls interoperability. Interoperability is the ability for me to take my radio to Columbus and be able to turn on something and be able to communicate with someone in Columbus. It's the ability for me to be able to turn on my radio and talk to the State Highway Patrol when the vice president comes to town. I did that yesterday. Okay, that's what the federal government wants with interoperability. Unfortunately, it doesn't work as well as the federal government wanted 35 years ago, almost 40 years ago now. Because if you're on a jurisdictional line, you're screwed. Lucas County is in a bad position because they have to coordinate communication with anybody in Michigan, because Michigan has their own system, Lucas County has their own system. The state of Ohio has their own system. And they have to coordinate communications. So one of the things that came up yesterday in the crisis of getting things started was Lucas County told me, oh no, all troopers from Post 87, Wood County, and Post 48, Lucas County, have the Lucas County system in their radios, in their cruisers. But if we brought a trooper up from Findlay, he wouldn't have it. So it's really difficult. And one of the things we talk about at our state meetings all the time is when something happens on the border with Kentucky, when something happens on the border with Indiana. Now, if you are in Heartland, Ohio, there's no problem. But if you're on a border, so one of the problems that we have is that we have to have ops channels on the state system for the fire departments that are below 582. And we have to have ops channels on the Lucas County system for the fire departments that are north of 582. And they're not connected together. They just don't play in the same sandbox. If we were in Hancock County, we'd be on the state system completely. No big deal. If you're in Lucas County, you'd be on the Lucas County system completely. But because we are in a jurisdictional area, we have to have two systems. So there's stuff on here, like these are Lucas County systems. This is state. These are Lucas County, those are state. This is Lucas County, that's state. This is Ottawa County system, not connected to any of them. So all of these, and on my assignable radios, I have some that are Marks radios, state system, and some that are Lucas County systems. So one of the things, and you know, and I'm not going to get off into the weeds too much, but one of the things that I can do is I can come over here and I can select a radio. So when it's red, it's selected, which means if I hit the push to talk right now, I'm going to transmit on that radio. But this radio is called an assignable radio, which means it has all of these channels that the dispatcher can choose. Now, they're listening to post 87, and that's their primary. But this radio has the ability to talk to any sheriff's office that touches the Wood County border on the state system. So if I needed to call Sandusky County Sheriff, I could select that channel, talk to them, and away we go. The help desk is the radio system help desk in Columbus. So I could literally call Mark's help desk. They'd answer me instantaneously, and I'd tell them what I'm doing, what I need, what's going on. And each assignable radio has a different group of channels. So on this radio, they can talk to Life Flight Tactical. They can talk to Metro Flight, which is the ProMedica side. ProMedica is owned by Metro Flight. I'm working on getting connectivity into Norfolk Southern and CSX, but it requires what's called a memorandum of understanding. And they both want to do it. It's just a matter that somebody has to initiate. And eventually, one of these I'm going to have in there. I could talk to Davis-Besse Nuclear Power Plant right there. So eventually, if we would have a railroad incident in Wood County, do we have any railroads in Wood County? I want to have interoperability with CSX and Norfolk Southern. And I think that's important to our dispatchers. Will we listen to it? No. If we need it, is it there? Yes. For example, yesterday, the vice president's visit operated on that channel right there. So as soon as the dispatcher knew what channel they were going to operate, no problem. I don't need to listen to Perrysburg Township for a few hours. I'm going to listen to the presidential detail. If there's any issues, I'm going to let my officers know immediately. We got really good dispatchers out there, really good dispatchers. Toledo Fire and Rescue are on that particular radio, and all the dispatchers are trained on how to do this. TPD, Toledo Police are in there. They can talk to Lucas County Jail right there. They can talk to, and then because there's two systems, there's two pursuit channels. That's really difficult. We have to know if we're on the OSP pursuit channel or if we're on the Lucas County pursuit channel. They're different, but we figure that out. So anyway, this is the system. This is what the dispatcher sees all the time. This is where they work. This is the stuff that the people that they're working with all the time. One of the little things that I came up with, every shift, they used to write a Post-it note for every dispatcher, and the county's divided into 4 areas. Area 1, Area 2, Area 3, Area 4 with a supervisor. And they write this on a Post-it note. Now, Post-it notes are expensive. Eric came up with the idea, why not put the Post-it note in the computer? So now there's a special position that at 6:23 this morning, the supervisor put all of those assignments in, and that means that W48 is on until 12 o'clock. So he's going home. He's doing a short day today because they work 12-hour shifts. So it doesn't make for a perfect 40 hours, so they have to do some 8s and some 4s in order to get their 40 hours. But there's a Post-it note, and I even colored it yellow. They love it. One of the dispatchers came back from a tour in Delaware County and said, they have a button that they can tell when their channels are busy. Can we do that? No, nothing built. Wait a minute, let me think. So I came up with a way that they can just click that button, and now they know that they have an EMS agency assigned to that channel, and they know somebody's out on that channel. And then they have, for each of the fire departments that we dispatch for, if they send Northwood out on a fire, they would click active, and then they know that they have an active system. One of the other things the system does is on most of the channels, it gives them a caller ID information. So that's a Lake Township car L41. So if an officer calls in for trouble, they're going to know who said it. If it's their portable, it comes with their name. If it's their car, they share cars. So we know it's car 41. We call the supervisor and say, who's driving 41? Oh, that's Smith today. Smith's in trouble. Get somebody out there. It's a tool that they have available. And that car number comes up here on their history report too. So if they didn't hear what he said, they can hit that play button and play back the audio as many times as they want until they can figure out what he said. I heard him say shots fired. They may not have heard it the first time, but when they play it back, they will be able to hear what is in there. And the area widescreen is all the extra stuff. So it's those assignables and things that that they can use. One of the things that we just got is where did I put it? I thought it was on the area widescreen. Oh, it's right here. One of the things we just got is a program called Marks in Schools. Marks in Schools is a grant program that puts radios in school districts that if they have an emergency, they hit the emergency button and it'll sound an alarm on the console and tell them that it's Perrysburg Toth Elementary. If they push that button, that means they need a man with a gun. They don't push it for puke in the cafeteria. They don't push it for need an EMS. They push it when they need a man with a gun. And that's the protocol that the state has set. So 4 districts in Ohio or in Wood County have gotten the grant. And that's a brand new thing that the Marks in Schools, and it'll have the name of the school right up here in the border. And then one of the other things, this is how they get a hold of fire departments. So they can actually see what channels are available. We saw that channel 1 was assigned over there, and they can select any of those. And if they would, if they hit a button, it's going to queue up the page. As soon as they hit send, it's going to go out, and then they announce what needs to be done. They also have what's called auto aid. Anything that would be a structure fire automatically brings in the cavalry. So different jurisdictions have different auto aid contracts with different companies. And so I just updated this one. No, not that one. I just updated this one the other day. It brings a pop-up to them. So if Perry Township, which is West Millgrove, has a structure fire, they automatically send Eagleville EMS, and they automatically send Kansas Fire from Seneca County. And that's a button that they can push now that dials that phone number. They don't even have to look it up in the book because it tells them right here where and who they need to call. One of the more intense ones are the river water task force things. So it tells them exactly what mile markers and then who they would call. Grand Rapids 190, Washington Township, Perrysburg Township, Perrysburg City. They also have to call Lucas County to get Maumee at that area. They would also call ODNR if it involves a watercraft. And if it's over here, they have to call the Coast Guard because of where that's at. This is all custom built for what they do.
Well, I assume you monitor metrics so that you're doing what you're doing there. You can
There's really no automated metrics to it. There's no automated metrics, but every click I can take away from a dispatcher is time saved. And they recognize that. We have really good dispatchers, and they are on every detail all the time. So, and then they also have the ability to access phone lines. So if our 911 system, you can't hear it, but yeah, I don't have the volume turned up. Oh, here's why. Nope, you can't hear it. I don't have the volume turned up. If our 911 system would fail, Frontier, in a matter of seconds, can transfer 911 calls to a 10-digit phone number that will come in via a completely different path, completely different carrier. And these are things that I came up with, thinking about disaster recovery and how we can do that. Because we used to have 911 go to cell phones. What could go wrong with that? But we have a group of 911 backups that if you call that number, that 10-digit number, they'll answer Wood County 911, what's your emergency? Because those are their backup phone, their phone lines for 911. So there are things, and 911 is with Frontier. Those phone lines are with Buckeye. So if Frontier would have an outage, as long as they can get to Marion, Frontier is all, our 911 calls all go to Marion, and then they come back. It's the way it is. Frontier has 2 911 routers in the state of Ohio. Ours is in Marion. That's as close as it gets. The other one's down in southern Ohio. But anyway, all of our calls go there. So anything that breaks between here and Marion, our 911 calls could be affected. But as long as they can get to the router in Marion, Frontier, which they can, and it's all prearranged. Those phone numbers are in the system. They just say, initiate our alt route, our alternate routing, and they'll forward those to those 10-digit numbers, and we get your 911 calls. Now, we don't get all the fancy features. We don't get your latitude and longitude. We don't know, we'll get your caller ID, but that's it. But will we answer your 911 call? Yeah, we'll answer your 911 call. So one more little thing I'm going to show you real quick outside of this, if it's still working. So I showed you all those little circles that were on that map. This shows the radio system and all of the sites that are out there. And when I key up my radio, what you're going to see over in this column under time slot B, you're going to see a bunch of yellow lights come on. Those yellow lights will indicate that that site is capable of hearing my radio. One of them will be green. That's the site that has the best signal that's going to receive my radio. So it's telling me that from here, the Haskins site has a really good thing. Now, I'm on a channel that nobody can hear. I have secret channels nobody can hear. Even the sheriff doesn't have this channel. Wood County Hospital can hear me. The site all the way in Deschler can hear me. Custer, Bays Road, Grand Rapids, they can all hear me. Now this is Sheriff 1 traffic. So there's a deputy out there, and I can tell by looking at that he's on his portable because he's only keying up so many sites. If he goes to his mobile, I'm assuming it's a guy. We have females as well. This is the comm center talking when it says RTP. Okay, this is his portable. If he keys up on his mobile, he's going to light up the whole row, -1 or 2, because the mobile can go the entire county. But this is one of the tools that this software, and you can see how quickly it changes. Just a little bit of me moving around, doesn't matter. And it's all continuous, non-interrupting. So that is a quick overview without getting terribly complex. I could talk for hours. Give me a topic and I'll talk. But yeah, like I said, this is all commercially available software. So the guy in Defiance who sold us this is like, someday this is all going to be yours. And he goes, no. Yeah, there are people who can do it, but right now I'm it. And I have fun doing this. So anyway, thank you for your time. I realize it's really warm in here. And you all stayed awake. So that's really cool. And I appreciate that. So if you have any questions, we can either do them now, we can do them offline, because I've taken a full hour. I didn't know how long it would take, but I've been trying to gauge myself. I hope you have fun. I hope you just saw a little understanding. The sheriff is very open to visitors. If you ever want to come out to the communication center and see what it's like, it is an interesting experience. Give him a call and say, hey, I'd like to come out and visit and see what you do. He loves doing that. Yes, sir. The comm center, yeah. It's out in the sheriff's office building on East Gypsy Lane. And then that building is the hub for the data hub for all of the buildings on East Gypsy Lane. And then the courthouse is the hub for everything in the courthouse complex. So at East Gypsy Lane, the dog warden, the health department, the JFS, the nursing home, Woodhaven, everybody's data comes through that particular room. So it has redundant battery backup. It has triple air conditioning. It has generator backup. It's got all kinds of stuff.
EMP protection?
Time and money. Yeah. Anything else? Yes, sir.
Complex system like this, how do you maintain a database, all the equipment, serial numbers, wiring, all that? How's that all maintained in terms of being able to, you have a good understanding yourself of capabilities?
Since the county had the data breach, they realized that a lot of that stuff wasn't well documented. So they're actually in the process of documenting that. They've already told me they're going to be coming in and wanting me. And I've asked them, what do you want to inventory? I mean, do you have a dollar amount, anything over $500, anything that has an Ethernet port, anything that has a computer? What do you want to inventory? Because I mean, we can use up boxes and boxes of asset tags if I've got to put an asset tag on every $30 box. They haven't even answered that question yet. It's outside of my scope. I don't care. I just make it work. So, yes.
How are we protected with Davis Betsy? I mean, how's the system set up? If there was an emergency out with Davis Betsy, how would it come back?
Fortunately, one of the best things that we have is the prevailing west winds, because literally we're upwind of it. Okay. But Ottawa County has a very intense plan, and the counties that touch Ottawa County have a somewhat intense plan. I've never been involved with much at Davis Betsy, even going back into my ham radio days. Now, when I was at the pager company, my pager company was Davis Betsy's emergency communications plan. And we could activate people in Defiance that would start coming towards Davis Betsy, because First Energy was big in Defiance as well. We're not overly involved with Davis Betsy, to be honest with you. That would be an emergency management agency question. You should get Jeff Klein in here to talk about disaster preparedness, and that would be a good Jeff Klein question. Anything else? And then, yes.
When you were talking about 911, probably 12 years ago, my brother called me that couldn't get my mom up. She had done something. And I'm in a car in Sandusky. I said, I'll call 911 for you. It went from Sandusky, it went to Wood County like that, and then to Perrysburg. But they had to transfer.
Okay, so we've changed some things with that. The cellular call is going to route to the center based on the tower location that you're pinging off of. Next Gen 911, which is coming, the state is working on Next Gen 911. Next Gen 911 should use your latitude and longitude to determine which center you're going to. So that's going to help, but we're not quite there yet. One of the things that I can tell you that has changed, and this has been a huge thing with the fire departments who are driving this, and to their credit. So one of the things that used to happen, the exact scenario you said, Wood County gets the 911 call because it's a cellular call, but you're in Perrysburg's jurisdiction. In the old days, we used to transfer you to Perrysburg, and then you had to explain it all again. We don't do that anymore. Because of the initiatives of the fire chiefs, if we get the 911 call in Wood County, you will give the Wood County dispatcher all of the information, and Wood County will page Perrysburg. Even though Perrysburg has their own dispatch center in Perrysburg, the 911 call will not be delayed by another transfer. So we will page every entity in Wood County. We do that now for everybody. So it used to be we had to transfer you to Northwood. Northwood's in our center now, so that's a no big deal. We used to have to transfer you to Perrysburg. We page Perrysburg. Perrysburg Township, Chief Bryce was the first one who did it. Chief Bryce said, I don't want my citizens being delayed by having to be transferred. So we worked out a deal where even though Perrysburg Township has their own dispatch center, we worked out a deal where we can page Perrysburg Township direct. And then what we do is automated, we send them what's called a rip and run. And a rip and run is a term from the old original 911, where they used to send a printout to the fire station, and you'd rip the paper off that had all the address on it, you'd jump in the truck and away you go. So what we do now is we send a rip and run to the Perrysburg Township Dispatch Center, which has all the details on it. They put it into the system and then they handle the call from there. But you as a 911 caller are never delayed. The other thing that's different is the dispatchers in Wood County are EMD certified, Emergency Medical Dispatcher certified, which means that if you were with grandma who was having a heart attack on the floor, our dispatchers in Wood County would help you start CPR right now. So we can't transfer you if you're going to start doing CPR. No other center in the county are EMD certified. Wood County is the only one. So Wood County is going to help you save your loved one, whether it's a choking, whatever. I can't even talk about it. I heard a dispatcher who was trying to help a mother who had a baby who was choking, and the mother was so hysterical they couldn't get her calmed down. Awesome dispatcher. Ma'am, if you calm down, I'll help you. I want to help you. Ma'am, turn the baby over. Put the baby in your arms. Slap the baby's back. That will get rid, that will a lot of times. We eventually got it. The baby was fine, but that baby choked. If it had gone to a different center, yep, we'll have EMS en route, thanks. So one of the new laws in Ohio is that every dispatcher who answers a 911 call has to be EMD certified. That's causing a lot of problems because it's very expensive. But Wood County dispatchers have been EMD certified for years and years and years, and I hear them all the time. They will stay on the phone and they will count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 29, 30. Give them a breath. Okay, tell me now, check their pulse and tell me if you feel a heartbeat. All right, we're going to start compressions again. 1, 2. I hear it all the time. So that's what they do. But every fire department now is doing that in Wood County. Bowling Green was second. We used to have to transfer to Bowling Green. Bowling Green now. Now, the other thing that's happening is the entire county is going onto a countywide computer-aided dispatch platform, which means we won't have to send Perrysburg Township the rip and run anymore, because when we type it in our CAD, they're going to see it on their CAD, and then they just keep going with it. Partnerships. That's was a $5 million outlay by the commissioners. The commissioners were on board with that. We need a countywide system because Perrysburg had ProPhoenix. Perrysburg Township had something different. We used one solution. North Baltimore used paper. We're all going to be on the same platform because of our political people working together and creating partnerships. And it starts at the commissioners because the commissioners bought into this. And that's going to change. Bowling Green and Bowling Green State University are already on the same CAD. So we don't have to do anything. As the dispatcher's typing it in, the Bowling Green police dispatcher is seeing it. She is going to get officers en route at the same time that a county dispatcher is sending the squad. We're all working together now. So, but that exact scenario is why we're doing it now. So the ones that don't have a busy tab are ones that we don't directly dispatch. We don't directly dispatch Perrysburg Township, but we will do their initial page. We're actually doing initial page for Fostoria now. I just set that up. February 1st will be when we go online, because Fostoria doesn't want transfers either. They want to get the trucks en route. So it's been a long road, but we're getting there. So
Fostoria is 3 counties.
3 counties, and Seneca is their primary. But we basically said that if the call comes to Wood County, we don't care. Get the help en route. So if you're in Seneca County in Fostoria and it pings off of a Wood County tower, why should I transfer that call to Seneca County just because it's there? Get the EMS en route, and when we'll deal with the rest of it later. Now, your call may eventually get transferred, but the initial help is going to get started immediately. That's the difference.
I called 911 a couple times in recent past, and the first question I asked was, what city are you in?
Yep, I do the same thing. And most of the time, because I do that when I'm out of the area, because I'm down in Columbus and I end up getting, they don't want to tell you, just give me the information, I'll take care of it. Well, if it's not yours, I don't want to give you just give me the information. It's not a good thing to do. Just people. But it has to do with cell phone tower and hopefully next gen 911. The first counties, the first 8 counties have finished their testing on next gen 911. And in the next couple of years, all the counties in Ohio will be on next gen. So you could have another whole presentation on just 911. Doug Houts could come out and talk to you about 911 because it's absolutely amazing how addresses verify and how it's integrated into the maps. You know what? 911 doesn't use Google Maps because the addressing isn't accurate enough. So we actually get all of our addressing information out of the county GIS information, which is accurate to the tax records. GIS information is more accurate than Google. Can't use Google. We can use it as background, but there's a layer on top that has all the address numbers on it because the numbers that are in Google aren't accurate enough. Do you want the ambulance going to the wrong address because Google got it wrong? I don't. So it really messes things up when a place in Perrysburg puts an odd number on the wrong side of the street because 911 knows that's wrong.
I live on Gypsy Lane, and the numbers get bigger as you go into Main Street. And my house is like 4, my neighbor's 1, and then the next guy's 3. Like we're out of sequence.
Mm-hmm.
And so they come and, well, I passed it, they turn around and go.
Yes.
"I had to keep going."
If it's in the GIS information correctly, it'll plot directly on the map, but you're still at the mercy of the fire truck. Yeah, unfortunately. My parents, their house is backwards. And I'm pretty sure that in 1940, when Floyd Lee Galley built his new house, he wanted to keep the same address. So he built his new house next to the farm and took the same address down there. So 14118 and 14260 are backwards. But it started in 1940. Yes. I think you can. That would be on the county website if it is. But I'm sure it's all public information, but the GIS department takes care of all that. Because that's what feeds into the auditor's information. And if you built a new house, you'd have to go to GIS to get an address based on the